Welcome to PR After Hours, your twice weekly cocktail of business, PR, and marketing tips hosted by me, Alex Greenwood. Every week, we bring you virtual happy hours featuring business advice from entrepreneurs and leading thinkers in PR, marketing, and business. We're going to get started in just a moment, so stick with us.
Hi, this is Angelo Ponzi, the host of the Business Growth Cafe podcast, and you're listening to PR After Hours.
I'm too healthy to be paying this much for health insurance. I hardly even use my health insurance. I just need it for catastrophic events. I never meet my deductible. I hate my plan. It's so hard to see a dermatologist or any kind of specialist. I could go on and on and on. If you're like me and you run your own shop and you're not a massive corporation, insurance is at best a labyrinth. It's frustrating. It's expensive. And I imagine for a lot of us, we don't have exactly what we need. Well, guess what? We're in luck today. We have a guest who is going to walk us through this maze a little bit. She's going to tell us about what she does. Her name is Dr. Noor Ali. She is a Bangladeshi-American medical doctor from New York City, determined to bridge the gap between patients and health insurance services through education, information, and empowerment. And I am very excited to welcome her to the show. Welcome to the Virtual Lounge, Dr. Noor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alex. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and to have a chat with your listeners today.
You know, it's not often that I get this much of a doctor's time, so I'm enjoying this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. You are a medical doctor. You're a surgeon. What led you into consulting about health insurance?
Yeah, it's a career I completely fell into, Alex. I mean, no one wakes up and says that I want to sell health insurance as for a living or a career. So definitely not something I sought out. But since I fell into it, I really fell in love because in my experience in medical practice, I practice abroad back home in my country in Bangladesh, and we don't have a health insurance system. Everything is paid per service. So I was very unfamiliar with the insurance system in general, healthcare system in America, and as a patient, I didn't understand deductibles and I was super frustrated. And I was like, it just seems too confusing for the lay person to understand. And then of course, navigating it and trying to make sure that, am I getting screwed or is this doesn't even make sense? So that huge gap in knowledge, both from a provider's perspective, as a patient perspective. And when this opportunity came to me and I was like, I can do some good here. I think I can unspool the yarn for a lot of people and give a really unique lens because of my unique position. So here I am, and I'm loving every bit of it.
And you still practice medicine?
I do back home. So in fact, every year it's all voluntary. So I try to give some of my time a month or so, and I'm traveling soon. And next week, we're going back home to Bangladesh, where I am still an active licensed physician and surgeon.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I hope you enjoy the trip and they're very lucky to have you back to help out.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's drnoorhealth.com, and there'll be a link in the show notes, everybody. So don't wreck your car or get off the treadmill. That'll all be there at prafterhours.com or in your show link. But you bill yourself as, and pardon the pun, your concierge health insurance advisor. So helping growth phase entrepreneurs access quality health insurance plans outside of open enrollment. Walk me through that, would you please? Who exactly is a growth entrepreneur in your eyes? Who is your usual best fit for a client?
Yes. So my best fit for a client are not those whose income is so low that they're qualifying for government subsidies. Because if you are qualifying for a subsidy, your best bet is going to go get a marketplace plan, healthcare.gov, ACA, Obamacare, all of that is synonymous. So right now we're in an opportune time of the year, open enrollment. So this is a time of the year where you can just hop online and punch in your information and just get a list of plans available to you and sign up. Now, those plans are great for those who are lower income. So you can get a government subsidy, or if you're chronically ill and you know that you're going to meet your deductible or your out-of-pocket max, you're on a guaranteed issue plan that's guaranteed to cover you no matter what. So for those populations, those plans are awesome. My target, my focus is those small business owners who are making too much money to qualify for those government assistance, who are generally healthy, and it's very unlikely they're going to spend $7, $8, $9, $10,000 a year in medical bills. For those people, marketplace plans sound and look absolutely ridiculous. Their premiums are as high as mortgages, and their deductibles are so obscene that it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And for this population, health insurance often becomes an afterthought with all of the negative connotations that you said. You know, it's a scam. I don't use it. I hate it. Why am I paying you this much for something I don't even use? So that's where I can come in. And I like to offer a unique solution for that population, for that healthy and wealthy growth phase entrepreneur, which is a medically underwritten health insurance plan. And that's what I do.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got a client who went through the very same thing. He has his own accountancy service, and he's growing. He does well, but he needed insurance, so he tried the exchanges. He tried Obamacare, and I got nothing against Obamacare. I think it's a great idea, but you said, I believe you said that for certain people, it's like a mortgage payment, and that's what he said. He said, I don't need it. He said, I know I need some coverage. But I don't need to pay, $1,500 a month or something like that.
You certainly don't need that. And then you fall into the trouble is, well, if you forego it altogether and you end up going to the ER, the way our system's designed, you're going to come home looking at, maybe tens of thousands of dollars worth of bills for a 5-hour visit that has the potential to make you medically bankrupt. In fact, 61% of American bankruptcies are due to medical bankruptcies. So how do you protect and prevent against that? So really puts this pool into a dilemma, and that's really the clientele that I aim to serve. And you asked about how I present myself as a concierge. I so believe in my services and the plans that I help my clients on, that I come with the plan for the life of the policy. So if anything happens during the duration of that plan, I know that I've built a policy that's so strong, I can pick up the phone and say, don't worry, I got you, you're covered. So that's really the additional service and peace of mind that I can offer to my clients, is not only am I getting you on a health plan that's actually makes sense for you, I'm going to come with the plan to help you maximize those benefits for the life of the plan.
So what's it like, if you don't mind, walk us through? I'm calling you up, and Dr. Noor, here's my situation. How's the onboarding look?
Sure. So the first is a 15-minute consultation call. I'm going to say, hey, Alex, tell me a little bit about you. What are your needs for health insurance? What do you think is a quality health insurance plan? Once I collect that data, I'll make a recommendation. And if I can help you get on one of these medically underwritten plans, the next step is really going through the policy and say, hey, Alex, make sure that you love this. Is it going to work for you? If you break a leg, this is how much it's going to cost. Make sure I answer those questions. What if I get cancer on this plan? Once you're comfortable with that, we submit an application and we get you all signed up, and that's it. And that's all the commitment and time that I need from you. The rest is all on my hands. If anything happens to you on that plan, you need help with a claim, customer service issue, that's where I can come in and take care of all of that for you.
Yeah, you're right there in the corner, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and so we're talking, you work typically with self-employed 1099 folks, entrepreneurs, freelance, contracted individuals. You work with people like me, actually, which is great. And where were you all those years ago when I was in trouble? No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
Although, it's true, Dr. Noor. I will say that I won't go into detail here, but I worked for a company about 20 years ago, and they were self-insured, but they didn't fund it, and I didn't know that, and I had to have throat surgery. Thought I had cancer. So the bill bounced back on me, $62,000. Yeah.
How did you handle that, Alex? I'm so sorry.
I was just so happy that I actually didn't have cancer. I just rolled with it and figured it out. But bankruptcy certainly was a consideration. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. What do you do in that sense when this unexpected bill and you don't have the coverage that you thought you had? You're in this country, you're screwed, to be very blunt,
No, I appreciate that. Well, I had a different word for it, but, it's pretty equal to what you said. But I appreciate that, and I would like to take a little sidecar on that, if you don't mind, because you have an international perspective as well.
Yes.
What the hell is wrong with this country? Why is our health insurance the way it is? In your opinion, you're a medical doctor, and you're from another country. I'd love your perspective, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Yes, of course. And I get asked this question often, so I have a well-prepared answer for you. And the answer is, it's not a simple answer, first of all. And it's so screwed is because of our economy being a capitalistic economy. The way our insurance is the way it is, it's because we've got private companies, private insurance companies who are all vying for your business. And then we've got the government who's trying to mitigate that risk with some type of coverage. And they're two completely different spheres, and they're just kind of always at odds. So because of all of that, it's really difficult for a consumer to really figure out like what is really good for me. And it's a very individual case by case situation. So what I try to do is, hey, I can't change the system, the economy. I can't do anything about all of that as a single person. What I can do is analyze your situation as an individual and just guide you and say, hey, for your situation, go with a government plan. You're going to be less out of pocket. It's going to give you the coverage you need. And then if that situation changes, you're a startup, you might have lower funds, but in 2-3 years, as your business grows, I might say, you know what, it's time for you to pull out of those government plans and go for a private. It's going to protect your investment, and it's going to be a better bang for your buck. So that's really my response. It's because our system is so deeply rooted in a capitalistic economy. We've just got these big conglomerate key player insurance companies that are just impossible to compete with.
Well, I know we did get on this interview to talk of policy wonk stuff, but I just have to say this. I just don't. I think it's ridiculous that our health insurance is largely tied to our employers in this nation. I don't understand that, because one of the main things you're concerned about if you want to switch employers, you want a different job, is like, is the insurance any good? Or maybe I have a child with a pre-existing condition and now I'm scared to death to leave because, right?
Yes. And I face that all the time. It's sad too, because, we're talking about the 50% of Americans who are self-employed or are business owners, but the other 50, they're just getting their employer coverage. And the biggest fear that Americans have on leaving their corporate job and pursuing their dream or an entrepreneurship idea is losing their benefits.
Yeah, exactly. And I was fortunate. My spouse, she had great insurance, and that's why I'm okay. That's why I'm not calling you at this point, but who knows?
No, I'm in the same boat as you, Alex. I'm very fortunate to have a husband in corporate America, and I get his benefits too. But so I completely understand.
Yeah, it's nice. I try to remember that whenever she and I are on the outs about something. Yeah. I'm just kidding, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly. She's got you on the health insurance policy, Alex. Watch out now.
I'm a bit of a kept man in that regard. So this is interesting to me. I thought maybe I would be like having to write you a big check to work with me, but that's not the case.
No, not at all. In fact, my services are all 100% free. If I'm able to help you with an appropriate policy, I would get a commission directly from the insurance companies themselves. So I don't really need to charge my clients. But keep in mind, I'm only working with such a specific population. So I'm only able to qualify just that niche population. But if I'm able to help them, everybody's happy. I'm happy because I'm making money from an insurance company. You're happy because you're saving tons of money on your insurance. Insurance company is happy because they just sold a policy. So it just works out.
Yeah. And if you can't directly help them, I'm going to go out on a limb, and you might be like, Alex, don't put words in my mouth. But I imagine you could point them at some other place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So my initial call is going to be kind of that direction is, hey, this is what you should do. This is where you should go. If I'm able to directly help you, fantastic. If I'm not, I definitely am going to guide that research and connect you with a referral partner.
What is the biggest objection you have to overcome with people who eventually become a client, if you don't mind?
Let me think about that in a bit, because it hasn't happened in so long. Objection. From a client or from a prospect?
Let's say it's somebody, a prospect, but they're skeptical, or maybe let's say they fit. For you, you're like this. Okay, Alex is the guy I would like to work with. He fits my categories. Yeah. But what are you typically hearing from people like me about why they should work with you and why they should do this? Or maybe not. Maybe they're just so relieved to find somebody like you. They're like, oh, this is great. Let's go.
Honestly, Alex, that's what it is. I don't face an objection, because when I can present a solution, the people I'm working with, they're coming to me because they're frustrated because either I'm paying too much, they're not happy with the plan, they can't see the doctors. The solution I'm proposing is going to solve all of those problems. So I don't really come across any objection. I'm saving them money. It's a better quality plan. Everybody's happy, really.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So, how is there a kind of a sweet spot of about amount of time it takes to figure out what people need? Let's say you onboard a client, and then is it like, do you need a couple of days? Do you need a week? Do you need an hour? How long does it take?
15 minutes on my end. So yeah, if you book some time to chat with me, Alex, I'm going to ask you a few questions, just like 2, 3 questions. That's going to help me do my preliminary research and figure out what options are best. And when I speak to you, I'm just going to lay out all your options, and then I'm going to propose my recommendation. I think, Alex, at this stage, at this time, with your income level, your medical history, this is going to be the best bet for you. And if you say, hey, I like it, let's do it, then we do that 1-hour call where we go through everything, and that's all the commitment I need, and it costs you nothing.
Right. And then they move on because you found them. They're the promised land. You've taken them there.
That's right. They're at the promised land. And if something happens in that promised land, I'm still here. So they feel that peace of mind, like, if something goes wrong, she's always there. I got a doctor on my side helping me with my health insurance. Like, what more could I ask for? So it's great.
I'm curious. I want to ask you a question because you're an entrepreneur. I want to ask you a question. When you got this idea, and I read up a little bit, you saw this graphic where chart every day, and it was very evident that the big insurance companies are going to win every time and all that. And I know you work with them, so you don't want to badmouth them necessarily, but apparently, you did see that there was some room to maneuver to help people. But as an entrepreneur, did you? What you do a known quantity to the large insurers, or did they freak out and go, we got an MD here who wants to do this? How did that work?
Yeah, no, you're right in the sense that my colleagues, my peers who do what I do, they're not nearly as educated as I am with my unnecessary degrees in this field. So yes, I would definitely say that overqualified for this role, but I've really found a way to be happy and flourish and give back in a way that's meaningful while still, keeping my roots to clinical practice. So I found my happy balance. I'm good here. Am I, unique in my field? Absolutely, but that's okay.
Yeah, I just wonder what the insurance folks thought. The big companies that you. Did you just pick up the phone one day and start looking for the right people? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, no, the company that I'm contracted with, I honestly, they don't care. Like they don't care. They don't know much about me or care much about me. They're just like, okay, that's interesting. Well, here you go. That's fine.
Interesting. Because you strike me as being somebody who's pretty unusual. That's all. But yeah, I guess you're right. They're like, okay, another advisor.
Just another person. Sure, welcome. Yeah, do you?
So how do you market yourself?
Yes. So I definitely, in the beginning years, Alex, I would really hide behind the fact that I'm a medical doctor. I was so ashamed. I was like, all these years of schooling and medical school and grad school just to be in a sales job. Like, really? Like, you don't need any education to do what I do. And I would feel so down about it. And I hid behind it a lot. Until I want to say, like, just pre-COVID, like end of 2019, I had like a branding breakthrough, a website, and I went through the branding phase, personal branding, and I'm like, okay, I really need to like own myself. And once I did, the credibility spiked, the inbound volume of business spiked, and I went from having objections to no objections, which is, to answer one of your earlier questions, I think a large part of why I don't get any pushback or objections when I speak to prospects is because of my background. So now I'm really owning into that fact and not hiding behind shame anymore. And that's made a big difference.
I love that. Hiding behind shame. That's wow. No, because it's very impressive and your website's great. And there's all these resources there too, which is definitely helpful. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about what people can find there on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. The resources tab is just chock full of info. I sometimes get overwhelmed with all the stuff I put out myself, but there you can find helpful articles and blogs where I write about things that really matter to you. So for example, my most recent one, I talked about, this period of open enrollment where a lot of people have to renew their benefits and their plans, right? You have to see if you want to keep the same plan or you want to change. And many people, especially in the corporate world who get employer benefits, they just say, yes, just renew for the sake of doing it without really knowing what they're signing up for. So one of my recent blogs is about what are the 3 questions you should ask yourself to evaluate your health insurance plan before clicking that renew button. Right. I've also got YouTube videos there that answers popular questions. So I actually search the web for what people want to know about health insurance, and I do a little quick video answering that. And of course, these informational interviews and podcasts, I have a few of those up there as well.
As we're winding down here, sadly, I've enjoyed this so much, but I want to ask you too. You use the term Fempreneur. It's interesting. You're a mom. You're a spouse. You're running the show here. You've got it all going on. Tell me about that. is this job you have now, this that you've carved out for yourself, is it helping you more or less have it all in that sense that you have more time for your child and more time to do the things you want to do, I would assume?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it took a while to get here. I just want to say to everyone who would have this conversation with, or if you're thinking or you're in this space, it's an end goal, like, going into entrepreneurship to have more time with your family. It doesn't happen just because you decide I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to become an entrepreneur. It can take years, and I'm still struggling with it. There are days where I don't see my son at all. It's like 12, 13 hours of work and I don't see him. And so that's a very imbalanced day. But then I will have other days in the week where I'm not working at all, where I don't touch my phone or check my emails, and I'm giving 100% of my time to my son. And that can be an imbalanced day as well. But if you look at my week or month as a whole, I've managed to find that balance that works for me, but it did take years to get here.
Preach. So, I've been in business 12 years. I left corporate world because it coincided with my daughter being born, and she's 13 now. And as I tell people, all that daddy-daughter time was great, but she's 13 now. She's downstairs right now. She's off school today. She doesn't really need to see dad right now. And if I walk down there, it's more about hi, So, but I would not trade, Dr. Noor, I would not trade a moment of that. And you're right. I mean, even when I was working 13, 14, 18-hour days, sometimes getting my business started and getting going back, especially when I had staff and all that kind of things. But on balance, it worked for me because I still got to go to school plays. I still got to pick her up from school every day virtually. I still got to spend all that quality time more so than most dads I know, to be honest.
Sure.
But, so I just admire so much what you've done. And what I loved the most about this, and why I was so excited to have you on the show too, besides learning all this great stuff you can do for our listeners, is I just admire the hell out of somebody like you who, you've got one path you're very successful at, but then you're like, but I want to do this. I guess I'm telling tales out of school too, because that's kind of like me. I've had a few different careers in my career, and I admire people who have the guts to go try something. I'm sure there was a raised eyebrow or two when you said I'm more or less not going to be a physician full time anymore, right? So.
Oh my God, still to this day, like I feel like I've achieved a certain level of success where I'm not going back. It's not like, let's try this and see if it works. Like, this is it. This is where I'm going. And it's just growth and scaling from here. But even still, it's like, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, am I sure I want to do this? I built this from nothing. Of course, I'm sure this is where I'm going. Where else am I going to go? So yes, Alex, and what you have to remember is you have to be the one to stand your ground and say, yes, I am sure. Because if you're not sure, you can't convince the doubters around you. So you have to be sure.
Absolutely. And it's great to have a partner under the same roof who believes in you. And I know that. Yeah. So, Dr. Noor, how do we learn more about you and get in touch with you if we think we might be somebody you could help? How do we do that?
Yeah. You guys can check me out at my website, drnoorhealth.com. That's DRNOOR health.com. I'm also very active on social media. You can find me on Instagram stories, send me a connection request on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. All my services are 100% free. So if you think you just want to have a chat or benefit from a conversation with me, please book some time on my website.
And I'm sorry, I didn't ask you this earlier. Is that anywhere in the United States?
So I'm licensed to consult for health insurance in 34 states in the US. But yeah, you just reach out to me. You'll find it when you book your time with me.
All right. Dr. Noor Ali, the healthcare advisor, the MD, and also just a really fun guest. Thanks so much for joining us here in the virtual lounge.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alex.
Oh, you know what that means? Looks like it's last call here at your virtual lounge for PR news, views, and interviews. We'll keep it short and sweet. Just remind you, if you like the show, there's many ways you can help us keep it going, not the least among which is to rate this podcast. Simply go to the show notes at prafterhours.com or wherever you're getting this podcast and click on the link, ratethispodcast.com/after, and it will take you to Apple Podcasts and a couple other places very easily. One click, you write your review, it's done. Can't tell you enough how important it is to get ratings on those sites so that we can build our audience and keep bringing you the kind of information you need every week for your business. Also, don't forget, if you want to sponsor the show, give us a tip in the virtual tip jar, or ask a question. There are links in the show notes. Well, I think it's time that I cleaned up and closed up for this edition of PR After Hours here on Anchor FM.